All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Devstream 176 breakdown. So, today we have a lot of information. However, we are missing one particular piece of information for some reason that was teased to us for like 3 of the dev shorts things they've been doing in a row, it feels like. So, some weird stuff. But we have a lot to go over, so let's get started. And when we get to the weird stuff, we'll get there. First and foremost, we have a vague knowledge of a February release of some description that maybe involves iOS. Warframe mobile time, maybe. They were really dodgy about it. So there's something releasing in February, but we don't know exactly what that is. It could be phone related. The iOS like beta just recently ended, so something is happening, potentially. Moving on from that, though, we have a lot of stuff that's just in-game, starting with a bunch of quality of life things that we are going to be getting soon. And there's quite a bit here. First and foremost, Inaros is getting a rework. This is a thing that Pablo has said in the past and a thing that I was hoping for personally. So, very happy to see that. We do know that it's going to be less of a rework than Hydroid, but Hydroid had to go from being the worst Warframe in the game to being among the best, I would say. So, you would expect less of a rework necessary for Inaros, who already has a few things going for him. That being said, I hope the goal is not like lower than where Hydroid got to. About the same place would be much appreciated because I think Hydroid is in an excellent place right now. And alongside the Inaros rework, they are going to be doing some work with finishers to making them better / more. Stuff with finisher improvements was pretty vague. In addition, we have Archon Shard Ascent Fusion. And this is basically the thing that we were asking for a while, which is take shards, combine them, make a Tau version of said shard. It is 4 shards to make a Tau. I really, really wish this was 3. 3 feels a lot more palatable here, as it's pretty likely in general that you're going to go, not get your Tau for like, let's say 2 weeks in a row, and then on your 60% chance to get it, then get it, and then be able to like craft a Tau, and then also just have the Tau that you would get from doing your weeklies and stuff. And that would feel a bit better than how long it takes to get like that one crafted Tau now. Because the 4 is just really a big extension on that. Of course, that's unless you get lucky in Netracells, which we'll come back around on. But 4 feels like a little overkill, but I'd rather have this system than not have it. So I guess it's fine. But I do really, really wish this was 3, not 4. Moving on, we know that we are getting a Fortuna Syndicate economy rebalance. Finally. The Fortuna Syndicate is terrible. It is truly awful. They specifically called out debt bonds, which are like the thing that makes leveling Fortuna just an impossibly just ridiculous pain in the ass to level up. And they are talking about reducing the just Fortuna Syndicates grind as well, which means the like gyros and stuff that you need for Little Duck, that being reduced as well, which just sounds excellent. Having Fortuna more in line with the way that we level like the Plains of Eidolon would be hugely appreciated, especially for me doing free-to-play throughs and, being able to confidently tell people to go and do it and not go and suffer would be really nice. Beyond that, we don't have a lot of information here, though, other than that they are doing it, and I am very much looking forward to it. We also are going to get a stat audit for the Arsenal. Basically, this is like a cleanup. It's going to be like a cleanup wave of like having like all these like slam damages, spin damages, and just like, final crit and all those types of terminology and weird stuff that's like not in all the places that it probably could be or should be, and things that don't have terms yet are going to be getting them. I'm a huge fan of the clarity of what things are supposed to do. We obviously had the recent kerfuffle with the orange shards doing 3 different things that should have 3 different terminologies over the course of it being fixed. And just knowing what the initial way it was supposed to work would have been much better for people making informed decisions before crafting those shards that are now entirely useless. So doing that to make it clear what things are supposed to be doing will be much appreciated whenever that's done. Also, Steel Path Incursions and Fissure Expansion. Basically, we have a bunch of new nodes now. We have the new nodes from Whispers, and we have like the Zaramon and all that stuff. fissures and incursions and all that stuff are going to start showing up there for Steel Path. There's also going to be more of the fissures, especially for axes, that are going to be available soon. So that's just all good stuff with expanding what's going to be available for Steel Path runs and stuff, which sounds great to me. And then this. So this, if you don't know what this means and you didn't see it on stream of what they showed, this is going to be kind of specific to explain. If you haven't played Warframe recently, you might not remember that this is a thing, but whenever you are walking past like environmental objects like a crate or like, you know, like whatever thing happens to be on the ground and you're trying to walk past it, you know how whenever you just get stuck on it and then you can't move and like you try and go left, you try and go right, and you're just stuck to this fucking thing? And like how whenever you would go through a door, you're just like stuck on the edge of the door? Basically, they're going to be fixing that. And I can't think of a thing that I thought I would never get that I want more than this. Because being stuck on stuff, especially as Warframes like Titania, is exceedingly common whenever you're going very fast or trying to go very fast. And especially for people who love Neja, this should be a huge improvement to just like the game at large for doing all the things whenever it comes through. And I'm very much looking forward to that. In addition to that, another thing that is getting a quality of life pass is Duviri. There's going to be a Jackal balance pass. I don't know if that means that he's too easy or too hard. I never have trouble with him, but I also have every weapon built in the entire game. So we'll see what happens with that. And then finally, maybe the most important quality of life update is preserving circuit progress. So what this means is a thing that we've talked about a lot on stream in the past, is if you are doing circuit, this will mean you go until you fail. So if your next mission is a defense and it's like wave 9 and you're like, I'm not sure if I can do that, so instead I'm just going to back out because I don't want to, you know, waste 50 minutes of my time and lose all of my shit, instead of taking that chance to see if you can clear it. Preserve circuit progress means that it's pretty much always going to be right to just go until it kills you, which is such an excellent change because it is the opposite of the way things have worked in the Warframe game, just worked in Warframe traditionally, in that we are encouraged by the way Warframe works now to just chicken out. Like if you've got an investment of a half hour of your time and you're like, I don't know if we can protect this thing, you're always incentivized just to bounce. Be like, I don't want to find out if I'd lose or if I can do it. It's better just to not waste a half hour of my time. And this will remove that, meaning you can just push it until you fail and see what happens, which I think is way more interesting. I'm really hoping that whenever this goes in, that people like it a lot and just, you know, it gets really positive reception from everybody, because I would love to see this across all of the other modes, like defense, survival, so on and so forth, like just going until you fail and not being punished for it. Although in survival, obviously, you get to just leave whenever you run out of air, so it kind of already has that a little bit. But just the go until you fail version of Warframe and like not losing rewards whenever you get disconnected from the host migrates, and like, you know, like your game crashes and stuff like that, like just saving all of the things that you've earned on each checkpoint, like every 5 minutes, you know, every 5 waves or whatever it is, every, you know, cycle of disruption, and so on and so forth, I think would be so good for the game, because it makes, you know, it makes technical problems like DCs and stuff way less of an issue, and it also just means that you get to see how far you can go, not see how far until it's not worth it to find out if you can go. So that's I'm really looking forward to this. This is a thing that I think will be really good. And I know for me personally, it will be a huge positive for doing anything in the circuit in the future. But yeah, moving on. We have the next update, which is Dante Unbound. This is going to be a March update, we know. And there is quite a bit in it. First and foremost, we have the new frame, Dante, who is just, look at that triangle. He is just an absolute geometrical shape, that man. He is like a librarian, spellcasting. He has an exalted book. And he seems super cool. He has like a big casting animation they showed a concept of, which I guess I'll throw that up here. He has the Exalted Tome, which is called Noctua. We have a couple of names of abilities, just like his 2, his 3, and his 4. We don't have the name of his 1. And he looks really cool. He's got a floating animation set, and he's just kind of, he's the library part of the aesthetic of like the labs, and he's going to be part of the expansion of the labs of that next update. Super excited for him. I think that his aesthetic was not anything I imagined it would be whenever they said his name, but he looks fantastic, and I can't wait to mess with him and his weird sounding abilities. And then we have the big negative to talk about, the huge negative to talk about, and that is the Netracells improvements, which were mentioned multiple times the past couple weeks over and over. And then we didn't talk about any Netracells improvements. It was mentioned that we were going to talk about Netracells improvements, but then no Netracells improvements were mentioned, and apparently there is some substitute activity that's going to have a guaranteed legendary arcane, because they don't want it to take as long to get legendary arcanes, because at the current rate on the drop table, it would take like 2 years to get the legendary arcane sets. And that's if you were, average luck. So we didn't really hear anything about Netracells improvements, which leads me to want to talk about why Netracells need improvements. So, minor flashbang warning. Here's the Netracells drop table. This is what we've got here. We have this Netracells drop table, and you'll see we have the melee arcane adapters, we have the regular shards, we have all of the melee arcanes, and then the Tau forged shards. So here's the problem. In this drop table, besides Melee Duplicate and Crescendo, which are exclusive to this game mode, all of the other Melee Arcanes drop en masse from the boss and the book in the tile set, and therefore will always be shitty rewards from this game mode. In addition to that, the Melee Arcane adapter taking up 20% of this drop table, I also don't like so much. I would much prefer if that was lower than 20%. And really the thing that needed to happen here is just removing all of the bullshit from this drop table. Just cut it down to the exclusive arcanes and shards, and maybe a 10% chance for a melee arcane adapter. Because right now, all of the chaff that is in this drop table makes it misery for people to run. Over 50% of the rewards in this drop table feel like shit to get. Whenever you get arcane adapters or the arcanes that you probably already have a max copy of anyway, if you're bothering to do Netracells, it's basically as though you were rewarded with nothing. Like a little bit of Phosphor is the most you could look at it as, and that is also not worth it. So really, it's crazy confusing that we aren't hearing that they're removing all of the bad rewards from this and just having it be good rewards, and then maybe like reducing Netracells per week from 5 to 3 or something to like make it so you're not getting 5 shards per week. You're just like usually getting like 3, but it's very, very weird the way that they didn't address this at all. Like, it seems like it is just the easiest thing in the world to fix in terms of making it so that people will actually have a good time doing this, as opposed to creating like this really shitty, worse than 50-50 RNG where you just have the haves and have-nots. Because me personally, I'm lucky. I get sometimes 5 shards. I've already gotten 5 shards in 1 week, with 2 of them being Tau, because that's just how it is. But with the actual drop chances that are here, that is supremely unlikely. And I would like that to be much more common, because doing it felt awesome. So I know what this drop table is like if it just is fixed. And it's really good, and we'd all enjoy it. Like, if they made it so there's only shards in here and the exclusive arcanes, even if you went in and say you could only do 3 per week, if the worst possible roll from your 3 a week Netracells was, oh, well, I got 3 Azure Archon shards, the regular ones, I think I'd still be quite happy with that. But going into these and getting 5 copies of Melee Exposure and Animosity just feels like I wasted my time logging in. So really, I cannot believe that, like, we heard so much about how they're gonna talk about Netracells the last couple weeks, and then just no movement at all was had. That shit is baffling. But yeah, I don't get it. I don't understand, and I don't get it. Hopefully something happens. I don't think that adding another substitute activity fixes anything, because the Netracells will still be there, and their drop table will still be bad. So what the fuck? So there's that. As I mentioned, they are expanding the lab tile set, which is cool. I like the lab tile set. They're adding disruption to the labs as well. This is going to apparently have some twists to it. I suspect this is probably where Dante is going to drop from. And there's going to be like a loot goblin type of weird new enemy that's being added to that as well. That's going to be a thing to deal with. And then beyond that, we have Styx Deluxe. This is actually a little small here, so I will make it large. Or at least larger for you to be able to see it. I don't like this one. I don't like it. I will say I like the head. The head and the helmet, which you can see a close-up of here, is cool. Like it. It didn't keep that energy going the rest of the way down. I don't like the chest. I don't like the legs. I mean, like, it's just, I really am not a fan. Usually, huge fan of the Liger skins. This one, really not doing it for me. Even the spear, I'm like really not feeling. The shield is kind of cool, but I really feel like this one, like the big headdress with the feathers and stuff, like just keeping that energy from head to toe would have been way more aesthetically interesting for me personally. Because like I get the whole Aztec warrior vibe, but this one just feels really, really weak for a Liger skin. So kind of unfortunate. And then moving on from that, we have the new Mirage changes that you get to give feedback on before they decide what they are doing. Basically, here's the TLDR, though, on why Mirage needs to change. So, Mirage's Eclipse, they redid the lighting system. In the new labs and stuff, the lighting system has been redone, and Mirage, as a Warframe, relies entirely on the lighting system in order to function. So, every single time they change it, Mirage breaks. To avoid that, in the future, they want to change Mirage. Or they could spend all of the time making her work in the new lighting system, which, honestly, seems like a waste of dev time whenever they could just do the thing that myself and many others have been saying for, I think, literal years at this point, which is to just make it a tap-hold ability. Tap for darkness, hold for light. I think that I am in the vast majority whenever I say that that is the much preferred solution. And Steve was very, very clear on stream that that's also the easy solution for them to implement. If they just make it a tap hold for Mirage and give her all of the same numbers she has now, that is A+, thumbs up, you did it, move on, for me personally. With that, Pablo did say that if they did go that route, they probably would nerf it further for the helmet system. And for that, I do want to just put my proposal out there for what the helmet stats should be and how they should function in order to be a healthy part of the helmet ecosystem. In my opinion, right now, the numbers on Eclipse for helmet, the damage reduction caps at 75%, which is low. The damage, I think it caps at 175 or something along those lines. It's kind of irrelevant what the damage out is because there's so many damage up skills that are in the helmet. Doesn't really matter. The defense part, I think, is the part that is worth considering for many Warframes if it is made more interesting. So, if they change it to the tap/hold, I think the numbers that you would want to put on it to make it a compelling but not like guaranteed to use on every Warframe ability, or at least not every squishy Warframe ability, would be to make it so that the base defensive value, instead of Mirage's 75, which can then go up to 95 with power strength, very easily, of course, instead of that, having the helmeted version start at 30% and then can still go to 95, I think would be very healthy. The reason for that is getting enough strength to go from 30% all the way up to 95 is an absolute, like, it is a lot of investment to get a Warframe there. A lot of Warframes will need to sacrifice things to be there and be using that for their survivability. And I think that like build around and needing to sacrifice for it would be interesting and worth it for some Warframes, but not others. And those Warframes also would have other choices that have different advantages, and that is where Helminth should be. In addition to that, I think that the damage bonus for the light side should probably be like 60%. Mirage's base is 200%. I think that 60% base, or maybe 75, around there is probably right to not make it so that, like, you know, you're getting such an insane damage bonus and also like really good defenses if you go that far into strength. I think also scaling back the offenses to be about similar value would be really good for that ability being used in some cases, but not all, and being more restrictive with how you have to put the frame together in order to make it worth it. It also, I think, would encourage people to maybe experiment a little with like the under 90% damage reductions, where it's like, well, I'm at 82, is that enough strength? Can I make that work? That type of proposition is also, I think, interesting. And I think 30% is the right number, removing the current 75% damage reduction cap that is on it for the Helminth, and instead opting for just a much reduced base number that forces a build around instead of just giving us a limitation that makes it much less worth using. But yeah, that's what I think about the Mirage Eclipse update. There is a forum post here. I will make sure and pin that below. So click that, go give feedback. If you have the same opinion as me, feel free to say it. You don't have to credit me. I don't care. I just want Mirage to be good. And I want her Helminth to be good also, and I want it to be interesting and like another piece of like the puzzle for a bunch of different Warframes. So if you agree, cool. We all thought of it. I don't give a shit. But yeah, cool stuff. Definitely going to be an interesting change for Mirage, and I will be very curious to see where they go with that. With that, we're going to be getting some new summon cords in the next update as well, but also, more importantly, some new weapons. So we have the Onos and the Ruvox. This is an Entrati Incarnin arm cannon. This thing looks so cool. If there's anything I'm excited for in the new update, it is honestly probably mostly this. I really like how Dante looks, but this thing just looks awesome. It starts as kind of like an Atomos, like front arm cannon, and then just like explodes into like the full arm takeover weapons. And that is such a cool idea. It's like such an absolutely banger idea. I want desperately for this weapon to be good. It looks stellar. On the other hand, we have the Ruvox. So these are the Ruvox. They're punchin' fists. And then they are also an Incarnate. They transform into claws. And, you know, we have Incarnate punchin' fists so far. And I'm not going to get my hopes up again. You're not going to fool me once. Fool me once. And I'm not going to get my hopes up for this one. I like punching weapons, but the stances are not very good. And classically, they just in general are not very good. I hope that I'm wrong. I would love to be wrong here. But the track record in the past is that these weapons suck. So I'm just going to keep that energy for now and hope to be wrong. In addition, we're also getting 10 augments and 1 passive disable augment, which I have a theory about what this is. In recent time, there's been a lot of complaints about Umbra, his passive, which is to like he's automated whenever you leave him. And he, like, you know, has some screwiness with like turning off buffs or activating abilities and some weirdness with that. So I think this might be to like make Umbra not do that potentially and have some other little benefit on it as well. We'll be curious to see what that actually is. But that's my guess for what the disabled passive augment is. As for the 10 augments, we have some leaks surrounding what those are. One that we know for a fact, because Pablo said it, is one of these is a Loki augment, which is also one of the ones that we got leaked. The other potential leaks, not to go into it too far because it's just leaked stuff, is a Neja, a Citrine, and one other one. That's right there. I don't remember what it is. Couldn't remember. Couldn't tell you. Though it was not a particularly interesting one. But yeah, that's what's going on with the next update. So lots of stuff to look forward to. But man, really, really big miss on the Netracell stuff. Like, I cannot believe, like, the one thing I went into this stream thinking was, oh, we're gonna get like a good plan for making Netracells a fun experience every week, and instead we got actually nothing, which is just insanely disappointing. But yeah, otherwise, like, besides that, honestly, huge bummer. Lots of stuff I'm looking forward to. I mean, I think Ascent Fusion could be tweaked. But other than that, like, I mean, this is a bunch of things that I think look cool for the most part, and like good changes that are coming to the game. So, you know, good stuff in general. Hopefully there's a little more to the Netracells stuff, because man, did we get nothing. But yeah, that's really the big takeaway from Devstream 176. But thank you for watching the video, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Overall, it was pretty good. All right, thanks for watching, everyone, and of course, as usual, thanks very much to the patrons for supporting the channel, especially the $10 patrons: Alex Barnum, Andrew, Angel SBM, Arbiter Daydream, Benuven, Blotomatic, Brandon Coggin, Brutus Salazar, Canolathra, Dylan Dworsky, Thrain, Afon, James Hartshorn, GC4 Science, John Lobdell, Joshua Adams, Luzant, Bigokel, Inti Ginja, Michta, Nerve, Ramoxidate, Ruby, Sharp247, Tamrielic Wastelander, The Coupon of Death, Homeworm, Victor Palmer, Waifu Wars Wadded, and Zerafir. And of course, thank you very much to all of the $5 and $2 patrons as well. It is much appreciated, because I've been asked this a lot. I am doing the 2024 Warframe tier list, but I need to get last year's data from whenever DE releases that, which hopefully happens on the January dev stream. But that's what's holding that up, because, you know, that kind of factors into Warframe's getting S ranks or not. But yeah, that's what's going on. And thanks. Thank you, everybody.